What's up, YouTube? So I want to come through and talk about the father's involvement with their children CDC study. I want to talk about it, but more importantly, I want to clarify this study because I think people are sort of confused about what this study actually studies. All right. And for those of you who don't know, this is a popular study that the media, especially the black media, likes to cite because based on this study, it shows that, you know, black fathers are, the most involved in their children's lives. But the study is oftentimes misrepresented and misunderstood. Whether this is on purpose or by accident, I don't know. But this is why I'm making this video. All right. So I just want to throw a question out here for you guys. Has anyone actually read this study? Not read an article that cites and references the study, but rather the actual study itself. Has anyone actually read the study? Just want to throw that out there for you guys. All right. The study is about, and I got the study right here. I read through it, made some notes, and I'm going to kind of, go through it later in this video, kind of give you the, abbreviated, abridged Cliff Notes version of it. All right. But the study itself is about 21 pages, but only about half of those 21 pages are the study itself. Like about, from page 1 to page 9. After that, the rest of it is just references and tables. So you just really have to read the first 9 pages, And like I said before, the black media often misrepresents this study. And the media, typically more so probably like liberal media, but tend to misrepresent this study. And let me kind of go into that, all right? This study deals with fathers who are involved in their children's lives. Key phrase here, fathers who are involved in their children's lives. All right. This study does not include or even acknowledge absentee fathers of any, socioeconomic group. All right. Socioeconomic, sociocultural. Yeah, no. As far as this study is concerned, they are completely irrelevant and a non-factor, okay? The black media and black people, especially black men, sometimes like twist the study to make it appear as if the study tracked all fathers and found that black men were the least absentee of all fathers. This study does not do that, all right? Again, this study specifically only deals with fathers who are involved in their children's lives. It does not deal with absentee fathers, okay? And also, some black men, particularly on YouTube, will use this study as a rebuttal when some black women criticize black men's involvement or lack of involvement in their children's lives, right? And those black men will say that a lot of fathers are in the households, and the media bases father involvement off of people who are married versus people who are just living together. Basically saying that, black men are in the household, but they're just not married to the black women, you know. And that's why the statistics for black fatherhood look the way that they do, you know. Basically saying like that's why it looks like black fathers aren't involved in their children's lives, you know. But you know, forget what black mothers have to say, you know, can be because they would be a good group of people to ask, you know, in addition to black fathers, of course, but definitely black mothers. They would be a great group to ask about black fathers' involvement in their children's lives, right? Um, and also, by the way, this study tracks fathers who are married and who are not married as well as fathers who live in the child's home, you know, who live with the child, and fathers who live apart from the child or children. Okay? But notice that when the children in the black community have issues, then these black men, many times these same black men who will flip and cite this study, will blame black single moms and say black women traded black fathers for government assistance. When black women ask where are the black fathers at? You know, it's like on one hand, they're saying the black fathers are involved and they're just not married, but they're in the same household. But then when something goes down and, you know, the kids are having issues, you know, as a collective in the community, then it's like, well, single mothers, single black mamas are the problem. You know, they're the reason for this problem. And then when they're like, well, where are the black fathers at? You know, and then it's like, oh, you know, the black woman traded in the black father for government assistance. Or, you know, the system got the black father and he's in jail because, you know, he's just completely innocent and then didn't do nothing. And they just came up, arrested him on no charges in particular, and just put him in jail, right? Um, so now what I'm going to do is kind of go through this study and give you guys sort of, again, the abbreviated, abridged, Cliff Notes, Spark Notes version of this study. Here you go. This is the study. Again, did some highlighting and some underlining, you know, like I'm back in school, all right? So I'm going to kind of go through this and just kind of give you the highlights of this, all right? So the objective of this study. This report measures fathers' involvement with their children, right? Father involvement is measured by how often a man participates in a set of activities in the last 4 weeks with children who were living with him and with children who were living apart from him. All right. So this study pretty much tracks 4 weeks. This is not some long drawn out longitudinal study here. It's just 4 weeks. Okay. The methods that they use to conduct this study, all right, are the methods. The analyses presented in this report are based on a nationally representative sample of 10,403 men aged 15 to 44 in the household population of the United States. All right. So this study, they kind of used a statistical model here. So they had a group that was representative of what they feel is the average situation in the United States, right? And they sort of just amplified that using a statistic model, okay? All right. The results. Statistics are presented on the frequency with which fathers took part in a set of of age-specific activities in their children's lives. In general, or rather, differences in percent distributions are found by whether the father lives with or apart from his children and by his demographic characteristics. Okay. In general, fathers living with their children participated in their children's lives to a greater degree than fathers who lived apart from their children. I think we can all agree that that makes sense, right? Differences in fathers' involvement with their children were also found by the father's age, marital or cohabitating status, education, and Hispanic origin and race. So, like ethnicity and race, right? All right. So, kind of like an introduction to this study, and something that I found interesting that I want to read within this introduction is that father involvement in children's lives has been shown to have a positive effect on children and their well-being in many areas. For example, on increasing the chances of academic success and in reducing the chances of delinquency and substance abuse, as well as like many other positive things too. But those are just a few of those um, positive effects that they speak on here. Um, and also, I think they have noticed that within recent decades, fathers have started becoming more involved in their children's lives versus in previous decades. And I don't think this is from this study itself, but just from research in general. All right. For this report, fathers were divided into two categories: fathers who lived with their children and fathers who did not live with their children. As well, the children are put into two different categories: children who are between the ages of 0 and 5 years old, and children who are, well, rather, children who are under the age of 5, I should say. So, children between the ages of 0 to 4. And then children who are 5 years to 18 years old. That's how the children are divided. And again, this study took place over a course of 4 weeks. As well, this study was self-reported as well. In other words, the fathers involved, they were given a survey or questionnaire to fill out. It was self-reported. All right. I think that's interesting to note too. And pretty much they were asked about 4 questions. That's about the scope of the study, as far as like the questions about the children are concerned and their activities with the children are concerned. For children under the age of 5, they asked questions that included, ask questions about activities such as eating meals with or feeding the children, bathing, diapering, or dressing the children, or helping the children bathe, dress, and use the toilet themselves, playing with the children, and reading to the children. Again, these are questions for fathers who have children under the age of 5, okay? Because we know that, children of a certain age aren't going to be, you're not going to be diapering like your teenager. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be bathing your teenager. So they have different questions for different sets of children. All right. For children 5 to 18 years old, these activities, questions about activities are about, talking with your children about things that happen during the day, eating meals with the children, helping the children with homework or checking that the homework had been done, taking the children to or from activities. All right. And something that I forgot to mention that I should have mentioned earlier was that this study, based on the information that they have, they said that okay, black fathers were probably the most likely to be um, non-co-residential, meaning that they are the most likely to not live with their children. Okay, white fathers were probably the most likely to live with their children. Hispanic fathers kind of fell within the middle. All right, so I'm going to talk about some results. I'm going to try and just speed this up a little bit. So here we go. Yeah. So this question refers to father who live with their children. All right, so I'm talking about this group. So Hispanic fathers were less likely to eat meals with their children every day, about 64%. Then were white fathers, about 74%, and black fathers, 78%. So within this particular category, black fathers tended, based on the research, tended to eat meals with their children the most. All right. Another thing, or another highlight. All right. So now I'm going to talk about fathers who are non-co-residential here. All right. So as far as them eating meals with their children, Hispanic fathers aged 15 to 44 were significantly more likely to have not eaten a meal with their non-co-residential children, with white fathers compared with white fathers and black fathers, right? Black fathers were, non-co-residential black fathers were the most likely to have eaten meals with their children, while Hispanic fathers were the least likely to have eaten meals with their children, and white fathers fall in like second place there. Okay, so about when it comes to well, I'll go on to the next part. When it comes to reading to their children, age 4 and under, when it comes to co-residential fathers, um, white fathers were the most likely to have read to their children. Black fathers would be the second most likely to have read to their children. And Hispanic fathers would be the third most likely to have read to their children. Now, when it comes to non-co-residential children and, fathers reading to their non-co-residential children they don't live with, it breaks down as the following. Let's see, white fathers would be the most likely to have read to their children. Black fathers would be the second most likely to have read to their children. And Hispanic fathers would be the third most likely to have read to their children. So it kind of is on par there. The residency didn't seem to make a difference in that aspect. In this aspect, education probably made a difference. Okay. One more thing or one more part of the study I kind of want to talk about, or one more question from this study I want to talk about. How often fathers help with homework or check that homework was done? All right. So based on this study, fathers who live with their children, all right, black fathers, 41% had helped their co-residential children with homework every day in the last 4 weeks, compared to Hispanic fathers, 29%, and white fathers, 28%. So, black fathers seem to be more hands-on with the homework, at least when they live in the same home. Let's see about when they live outside of the home, all right? When it comes to the non-co-residential fathers, all right? So it breaks down as this. Hispanic fathers, and 82%, and white fathers, 70%, had not helped their children, their non-co-residential children, with homework in the last 4 weeks at all. Compared with black fathers, about 56% of them had not helped with homework at all. Okay. And also, I kind of want to, well, I want to talk about some, a few of the limitations of the study, which the study speaks on, itself. Like, it speaks on its own limitations about some of the things that it can't track and some of the things that it could probably track better, etc. All right. Um, First, only men aged 15 to 44 were included in the survey, by the way. So, limiting what can be said about involvement, fathers' involvement with their, fathers who, let me get this right, all right. Limiting what can be said about involvement with their children by fathers aged 45 and over, right? The study only tracks fathers age 15 to 44. And by the way, I think, like, who is being a father at 15 years old anyway? That's way too early. All right. But again, so fathers 45 and over are not tracked in the study, you know. So, that's a little interesting, right? Because fatherhood is not just between those age ranges, because sometimes some men are kind of like fathers later on in life, just as some mothers are, mothers later on in life, but um, this study does speak on the limitations of that. Another limitation is that fathers' involvement questions were not asked for a specific focal child if fathers had more than one co-residential or non-co-residential child in an age range. It's not clear then how these fathers responded if they had different levels of involvement with the different children. For example, if a man lived with a 6-month-old baby and a 3-year-old child, and he spent more time with the child than the baby, it is not possible to know whether he averaged the time he spent with each child or answered questions in regard to just one child, right? Another limitation um, is that one of the sources of this information, the National Survey of Family Growth, um, I, its information, the questions, they had a relatively small number of measures across dimensions of father involvement, meaning that the questions that they asked, they felt like the questions could be a bit more in depth and a bit more multidimensional, you know. And, this took place in between 2006 and 2010. In response to this, however, the National Survey of Family Growth, which began interviewing in 2011, September 2011, was redesigned to include multiple measures of more dimension of father involvement and to actually these questions about a specific focal child within each residency group, a resident group, residency group, yeah, residence group. There you go. Category. All right. In this redesigned survey, the youngest co-residential and the youngest non-co-residential children are selected as the focal children when fathers are asked about how often they engage in the father involvement activities. Okay. All right. So that was my abbreviated version of that. Okay. All right. So, based on this study, perhaps we can say that when Black fathers are involved in their children's lives, they are super dads. They are fathers of the year when they are involved, right? That's the key phrase there. When they are involved. Perhaps we can say that. And also, I don't do this video to bash Black fathers, to bash Black fatherhood. I just do this video. I'm doing this video to clarify some things and to just put it out there that, hey, there's still some work that needs to be done, because some folks will just cite this study incorrectly and just be like, oh, black fathers are the best fathers ever, and just feel like there's no work to be done. There's nothing else that needs to be done. And just put it all on black women. Like, yeah, y'all the problem. And, that's not, entirely true. But I'm going to bring this video to a close. Yeah, I've gone on for long enough. But, thank you for watching this video. Please leave comments, especially comments from black fathers. I know I have at least a few black fathers who follow me, So, please come through and sound off and speak your piece about this. All right. And, black mothers can chime in too. All right. So thanks again for watching. But before I go, before this video ends, I want to show you a short video clip, Nothing, extremely spellbinding, but something that I kind of wanted to put out there for you guys. A clip that I found very interesting, and I knew about this from a long time because this comes from a reality show called Nanny 911. I think it was like really popular, perhaps maybe in the early to mid 2000s. So I think this video clip is probably about at least 10 years old. But I still remember this actually. But it's from a reality show called Nanny 911, and it's involving a black father. Enjoy the clip, enjoy the video clip, and I'll catch you in my next video. Until then, adios and goodbye for now.